Triumph is a company with a rich history in the auto industry. Today's reflection of that past is the Bonneville T100 and T120. In 1898, Triumph began production on the Wait, no, that was a motorized bicycle. In 1937, the Please excuse me again, that was the Speed Twin. Well, folks, it appears it wasn't until 1959 that a Bonneville T120 was created. In fact, by modifying an already existing Tiger T110. The Bonneville was to be the hot rod. But this bike was the first to be a serious competitor in the US market, and the popularity grew quickly. Now in those days, the T120 sported a 650cc parallel twin. It's grown a bit since. Triumph company ownership may have shifted a few times since the beginning, but the attention to detail has maintained a true course to the company's legacy. Currently, the T100 Bonneville features a 900cc parallel twin with a 270-degree crank, pushing out a listed 55 horsepower and 59 foot-pounds of torque, a 5-speed assist clutch, a full KYB suspension with adjustable preload in the rear, single-disc Nissan brakes front and back with ABS, a 3.8-gallon fuel tank, and a retro-styled gauge with a suite of info including a fuel gauge and traction control plus driving mode information. The T120 model includes the 1200cc parallel twin with the same 270-degree crank configuration. The Big Brother will give you a listed 80 horsepower and 77 foot-pounds of torque. This model comes with a 6-speed transmission with assist clutch, which will aid you on those long highway miles. A full KYB suspension, but with cartridge forks and the same preload adjustment in the rear. Twin-disc Nissan brakes up front and a single-disc Nissan system in the rear, again with ABS. The 1200 model also has a 3.8-gallon fuel tank. It also features a similar multi-function gauge cluster and, as a bonus, heated grips for those chilly morning commutes. Time for a test ride.
Hey Kitty. Kenny is prepping our T120, and we are gonna start with the T100. Now this T100 looks really nice. It's the black model, so it's matte blacked everywhere where chrome would be. You know, there's a few metal bits, but a lot of them are brushed, and you know, I really have a affinity for these flat black bikes. So T100. This is a 900cc, 270 degree parallel twin. Pushes out about 59 foot-pounds of torque, 64 horsepower is at peak. Peak is at just after 6,000. But because of the twin, like I say in all my videos, you get most of that power as low as like 3,200. Let's get on the bike and start it up. Love their twin sound. Even their 900 just sounds really awesome. Now, just while I'm angling this machine out of here, I have a 36 inseam. I'm 6'3", and I only say that to give you an idea of how the bike fits me. Oftentimes, I end up going to the bigger bikes, but I will let you know if this bike is comfy for me. So, I did a review, check it out here, of the Street Twin. You know, to me, when I was thinking of this bike, I was thinking, oh, it's kind of like a street twin. The bike feels very sure-footed. It's not quite as sporty feeling as the street twin, but I would say it's a little more comfortable. Just immediately, I can sort of tell on my butt. It's a very well padded bike. Now, I had a question in a previous video. Would this bike be a good, would a street twin be a good rider passenger bike? And no, I don't think it would be. I think the Bonneville series would be a much better bet. Let's just do our glove up here, huh? I always just get so excited that I just don't do what I'm supposed to do. Well, we got buses up ahead, so let's actually see if we can lane split, huh? Yes, you can lane split. It's a very confident bike in that regard. Got some sweet jams. Now this will be a rather short ride because we're going to be riding two bikes in this review. Basically, how does she handle? What would I do with this bike, and is it a good machine? I've never been on a Triumph I didn't like. I've been on Triumphs that would be impractical for me. This would be a really good around town commuter or beginner bike. You know, this 270-degree platform is really smooth and forgiving. We do have a gear indicator. I really like that on a bike, but a lot of these modern bikes have them nowadays. It's a luxury thing to me. We have a fuel gauge. We have five gears that we can go through on this bike. The fifth gear is it's a very wide gear. You'll be able to go into the 90 mile per hour range comfortably. Don't be afraid of going on a freeway with this bike. Now, if you wanted to load this thing up with a lot of gear and take a road trip, that's when the T120 might start to come in, or take a passenger. I just hit a big pothole there, you probably saw. Pleased to say that the suspension is very soft. Very forgiving suspension, much less stiff than the Street Twin. How's it going? Hey, nice bike. Sweet Ducati Monster right next to me. As far as the bikes looks, it looks fantastic. Sounds good. Let's see how the brakes work. Nice and tight. You know, considering you're a single caliper, I believe, up front. The mirrors, these are probably the worst mirrors I've used on a Triumph. That's a point of criticism for sure. I would probably take those off and put on some ram mount mirrors. I like those anyways because you can get them as wide as you want them, and you know, make them fit your needs. I'm just seeing a lot of elbow. They're you know, usable, and they're slim, so you know, I wouldn't be worried about hitting mirrors on cars with it. This is just a great bike for around town. So I'm noticing another thing, the acceleration point on the T100, it feels really good at about 3,000 RPM. Right around there. So if you can keep your shift points in the I'd say 2,900 to 3,500 range, it feels really good. It pulls, you know, I love that feeling of just the bike tugging on you. That sounds dirty, I'm sorry. This is a clean channel, guys. It's a wholesome channel. Well, there's no talk about tugging here. Alright, we're going to take a little windy loop and see what we think. Comfort. Very comfortable. Considering how lanky I am for this bike, you know, there's a lot of people taller than me, but I'm lanky in the general sense. It's pretty good. More comfortable than the Street Twin was for me. Haven't been on the Speed Twin yet. That's coming. Ergos are good. Bar positioning is pretty good. I wouldn't mind the bars being a little higher, you know, and it looks like there's enough room for maybe, say, 20 millimeters of adjustment there, where you could go maybe up and back. There we go. Jigsaw boy. You know, it's not necessarily a super sporty feeling bike, but it is, you know, pretty nimble for what it is. Think of this bike like a beach cruiser bicycle with an engine. That's what it feels like to me. It's got a kind of, you know, lazy but predictable handling. Not in a bad way, just it's just more of a comfort ride than performance. You know, I think the price point on these, I'll just point it out here. I know it's like $9 grand or something, which is pretty good. You're getting a fair amount of safety features with this bike, you know, from factory. And let's see how it is to stand up on a ride. Well, you know what? You could actually do that. You could stand and ride it. So if you wanted to get one of these and turn it into an adventure bike, why not? I would put wider bars on. I'd bring the bars up, and you'd have yourself one heck. All right, let's see. Acceleration is it's pretty good. It's a 900, so, and I'm kind of a fat boy, so It pulls pretty good for, you know, for being a 900. I'm impressed. Sweet, that was the T100. Let's get the T120. So this is the T120. I believe this is a 2018 model. That was a 2019 Bonnie, so T100. So sorry, I'm fat and out of breath from moving bikes. So this is our T120. Again, thanks Kelly for loaning it to us. He's put on some hard removable panniers there and a nice big windscreen. I like it. Nice thing is this is a removable windscreen, so you can take that off if you don't like the look of it, or if you want to go on a long trip, boom, good to go. So some of the things that you get with the T120 immediately stepping up is 6th gear. You're also going to get heated grips. Super nice. Right there, boom. Alright, you do get a little more grunt. Oh yeah, that extra size really gives it a nice timbre. Now I'm glad to have this windscreen on, because the point here is to say, you know, does it work well as a could you tour on this bike? I already know the answer is yes, and of course it's starting to rain, isn't it? I think both of these bikes will do quite well as a commuter. They sit very similarly, actually. It's interesting. You would expect the T120 to be much larger sitting, but it's not. It really feels very similar. Some dudes with some sweet scooters. Look at that. I love it. And as it begins to rain, let's go through a couple things. Both these bikes have traction control and ABS. This one's got that, and you can actually change the riding modes on it. Pretty cool. Now this bike's got 80 horsepower, or I'm sorry, 77 horsepower and 80 foot-pounds of torque. So this is a bike that's got a really neat power feel to it. Lots of torque, you know. I like torque better than I like horsepower. And god dang, guys, come on, killing me here. This is what I get for doing a rush hour review, huh? That's what I should call this one, rush hour review. But I'm pleased to tell you the bike's very comfortable. But don't go thinking that this bike is going to be sizably more comfortable than the 900. Oh yes. This thing's just got a really, really great roar to it. So another cool thing about this Bonnie is that it's really modular. You can put forward controls on it. You can put a backrest for your pillion. This windscreen is really nice, guys. I really like it. I don't normally care when I'm at low speeds, but I can tell on the highway this thing would just be a beauty. And it's not that much more money for a T120. You know, that's one thing that I'm not here to undersell or oversell either one of these bikes. And you know, quite frankly, it's not in my budget to get a Bonneville, because my do-all bike is a Tiger. So if I didn't have that Tiger and I was a little more around town bebopping, I'd definitely pick this bike. So let's see how she does over the bumps. Very cushy suspension, more cushy than the sporty retros. So guys, they're both good bikes. You know, when you're spending this kind of money on a bike, it's not going to be a lop of crap, and it's basically from any manufacturer. Now, every bike has weak points, and you will find those weak points, and they will cost you money. But nowadays, the bikes are pretty good, and these Triumphs in particular, they do a great job of having a really good baseline product. I mean, you can ride it out of the store, and in its factory condition, it rides great. Now you can take it and tweak it and make it perfect for you, but you know, right out of the gate, the performance is good, even though the numbers don't look great on paper. Trust me, this thing's got the power that you need. It's not, and I'm a power fiend. You know, I had a ZX14 that was like 198 horsepower to the wheel. It was insane. And no, I never really got to use all of it. I'm not an expert rider. I used a lot of it. I like the power. And I like to have power in reserve, which is one reason why I would pick the T120. I would like a reserve of power. That way, if you have a hairy pass or something that you got to get around a car real quick, or you got to enter a freeway really quick, you know, California, you need to get up to speed quick. Both bikes will do it. This one does it better, I guarantee it. Both bikes handle about the same. If you're looking for a piece of history, a piece of heritage, you know, this is a great bike. Some guys go for the Harley heritage. That's fine. I love all bikes. Triumph has a rich history as well. It goes way, way, way back. And they have really done a good job of maintaining it. But being able to update it to the modern safety, performance, I mean, it even has the little fake carburetor underneath. You know, I think that's kind of cheesy, actually, but you know, it's attention to detail, and it doesn't look crappy. It looks, you know, anyone who knows anything about bikes would know that it's not a real carburetor. But now I rode a T100 that was carbureted before I got on this, and it was the 900cc. It was carbureted, and even the carbureted version really had just really good power and response. Now this is throttle by wire, whereas his was not, and I have grown to like throttle by wire. I didn't at first. I had it on my ZX14 and I found it intrusive because my Hayabusa is not throttle by wire. But once you get used to it, it's very predictable, and that's a good thing, because when you're coming around a corner, around a turn, you know how your bike's going to accelerate. You have way less chance of a slide out. That, coupled with traction control, is just a nice thing to have. Now, the guys I ride with, they turn that crap off. I mean, all of them. Except me, I'm the nerd. I just don't trust myself. Boy, low speed maneuvering is really good on these bikes. Really nice. One thing interesting is where the footstand is on these retro Triumphs. You know, it takes me a weird, it's just different than my Tiger, so I have to search for it a little bit. There it is. That's a 2018 T120. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you, Cascade Moto Classics. As always, you guys are awesome.
All right, everyone, let's wrap up with a very clear summary. One thing to take away from this is that the Bonneville is, at this point, one of the real true form bikes as it was in the 50s. Really, one way to look at it is that a Bonneville as it stands now and was then is a Tiger, interestingly, as we found out. In this case, in the modern era, it's a retro Tiger. Now, the reason I actually brought the Tiger out is because it's relevant to the critical points that I want to make about the bike. But let's get into an overall summary. What you're getting with these bikes is a very similar feel between the two. One's a little better for on the highway, if you're going to be having a passenger ride with you frequently, or if you're going to carry a lot of luggage for campouts, long road trips, that kind of thing. The T120 is going to be better for that. Around town and even on short trips or even on highway trips, the T100 will do just fine. It's just that having a little more engine, a little more power, has benefits in other regards. As far as critical points, like a beach bicycle, they're just very easy motorcycles to ride. I mentioned earlier in the review, they do feel a little bit lethargic. Well, think of these bikes as the Tiger. The Tiger is a do-all bike. It does pretty much everything. Now, it certainly doesn't do everything the best. It does everything very passably. It does highway miles passably. It does off-road passably. But certainly a dirt bike is going to be much easier to ride off-road, as is a cruiser on a long road trip. The Bonneville really is no different. It's not particularly great at anything. It's not the most sporty handling bike, although you can rip on it pretty good. It's not the most off-road themed bike. It doesn't have the most suspension travel. But I've seen guys really tear it up off-road with them. So it can do it all. And it's a really good bike to start riding on. It's a really good bike to return to riding on. It's a bike that really can be ridden by all levels of rider. It's got plenty of accessories that you can put on it. I think over 150 that they list on the Triumph store. That does not cover all the stuff you can get in the third-party market, which is massive for the Bonneville. So really, customization is not a problem with this bike. Well guys, as always, thanks for watching my video. I hope it was helpful for you, or at least entertaining. I appreciate the likes and subscribes, and I'm really having a good time growing the channel. Thank you so much to Cascade Moto Classics. Everyone in that store has just been awesome, and they're really helping me out along the way as much as they can. If you guys have any questions, ask down below. I'm happy to go back to that store and get any answers I can. This is a very general perspective video, but I wanted to give you guys just an idea of what it's like to ride one of these things. Go ride one for yourself. Go take a test ride. Most Triumph dealers are going to have a demo bike, at least a Bonneville demo. And if you're in the area, come on down to Cascade Moto. Might even see me there. So, with that said, you guys ride safe, and I will catch you next time. Twin disc Nissan brakes. Twin disc Nissan brakes up front and a single Nissan's